and shut the door. Things have just hit a crazy factor. Diddy has just been implicated as having somebody potentially on the LAPD on payroll. We are talking about missing evidence. This ties into Little Rod's lawsuit. This ties into so much. Baby, when I say that Diddy's team and Mark Agnifilio are still arguing with the judge right now about whether the jury can hear this and whether this can be admitted, you guys, this is groundbreaking, but we have to talk about that. But first, let's talk about why my edges aren't laying. Okay, you know what? No time for that. Let's focus. What's up, you guys? Listen, this is groundbreaking news. This is live from ground zero in the Diddy trial. I have snuck out from court. You guys see, we are at the courthouse. I have snuck out by court, but we need to talk about this. You guys, so many people testified right now. So far, we've had the LAPD police officer. Literally, he's trying to make a big issue about the LAPD police officer that investigated the trash pass. It wasn't a robbery because Kid Cudi didn't say he saw anything robbed, but he investigated the trespass, right? That's an interesting testimony. And Brian still tried to dig into him, but I believe he opened up more questions and it was not good for Diddy. But let's skip over that and let's get into the fire detective. Now, there's a fire detective. You guys don't know, yesterday there was a big war about whether they could testify about the fire, whether they could say that there was partial female DNA found on the bottle, even though the prosecution made a big point and said, when you get into partial female DNA, that could be the girl that sold you. It was an old English bottle with a handkerchief. They're like, that could be the girl that sold it to you. That could be anybody that wanted to take a sip before they pass, right? However, and they were like, okay, fine, that's going to be excluded. However, the detective let out some testimony that was so shocking, so groundbreaking. The court is stunned. Mark Agnifilio was gagged. Literally, Brian still looked nervous. The whole Diddy team is looking like, yo, this can't get into evidence, but your girl was, and this is why it's important to be live in the courtroom, because a lot of stuff they strike from the record. A lot of stuff they can't say, but since your girl is right in the courtroom, baby, we heard it all. Finding your 40, thank you so much for the super chat. Y'all, let's get into this. So we're gonna move around a little bit because I want to jump right into the fire DNA stuff, right? Now, first of all, the Kid Cudi car bombing was worse than the pictures lead you to believe. Right? Because the fire expert or the arson expert said a couple of things. One, he said that, listen, we are getting to the way Diddy got a mole in the LAPD. Baby, it looks like Diddy actually has somebody working from the LAPD, and this ties into Little Rod's lawsuit, okay? Dawn Shock said, you're doing a great job. How are you able to get into court every day? Aren't there tons of people waiting to sit in the courtroom? There is, but I had to use my tattletale magic, you guys. So thank you guys all for that. There is a huge line, but you know, I be elbowing, trying to get in, doing what I can. You have to get there early. You have to get there often. And baby, this is America. You literally have to wait your turn, but I get out there early so I can wait my turn for you guys. So is it easy getting in the courtroom? No. Have I been waking up extra early? Have I been out here in the streets waiting? Absolutely. So that's how I'm getting into the courtroom. Okay. Again, it's open to the public, but they're only allowed in the main courtroom. They're only letting 14 people, the main public in. And I'm always one of the first 14. I've been out here doing it for y'all. Anyway, let's get into this. So the car bomb, it was worse than we thought. Simply Me said, why are they talking about a potential mistrial? Because Diddy's desperate. Diddy been talking about he's getting off. He's been talking about a pardon. He's been talking about, sorry guys, it's bothering me. He's been talking about a potential mistrial. Diddy's team can talk about what they want and spread whatever information they want. It doesn't mean it's happening. Baby, I've been talking about being a billionaire for the last 10 years. And here I am, talking to y'all, trying to hustle, literally thanking y'all for fan funding. Thank you so much for the super chats. So when you're saying, oh, why are they talking about a mistrial? Because they want you to believe that the prosecution's case is not that strong. Prosecution's case is so strong. Prosecution said, we actually might finish a week early. They have Diddy dead to rights, but this new fire thing opens up something completely different. Irma Solman, I said, girl, you must be hungry. Lunch on me. You know I am. Thank you so much, Irma. I appreciate it, right? The mistrials are only angle, but what are their grounds? Judge Aaron just told them last week, You don't get to dictate what this court does. And you can do a mistrial all you want. It's not even proper. Stop listening to the media garbage. Let me tell y'all something. If Diddy's team had enough for a mistrial, they would have been moved for a mistrial. This is Diddy's worst nightmare. He wasn't prepared for court. Things are moving too fast. If that boy could get a mistrial, we would be on hiatus right now, and I would be sitting there right on my couch, eating chips, talking trash, probably about Kanye West, and waiting for my man to come home. Like, let's be serious, right? Anyway, listen, getting back to the car bomb. The car bomb was worse than anybody ever thought. Why is that? Because they said that there were 2 other vehicles in the driveway. They said that it was covered by a lot of foliage. They said that the way it was set, it was intentional. And it looks like they wanted it to explode, catch the foliage on fire, and then because it was 10 feet from the house, catch the house on fire. They said it very easily could have done that. Diddy could have started the next LA wildfires, or at the very least, Kid Cudi's house easily could have blown up. Now, I know what you're saying, Batista, you put 20 on 10, it didn't happen. But you know what? Let's hear it for incompetent goons. Let's hear it for incompetent goons, because they showed pictures. And what they actually discovered was super, super shocking. So basically, in the Molotov cocktail, when you put it in, the fumes from the gas makes the glass. It was an old English bottle and a designer candy handkerchief. Who liked designer, right? And they found the lighter at the scene. They cut like the roof of the car about a foot open, dropped it in. When they dropped it in, the handkerchief fell out. So the handkerchief started burning and some of the fuel fell out. But had it not fallen out, only by the grace of God, what would have happened was, as the fire went closer to the old English bottle, it would have created a bunch of fumes, which would have made the glass shatter. And when the glass shattered, that's when the whole fire would have spread everywhere. And the house, because it was only 10 feet away, would have caught on fire, and all the trees. And it probably would have caused a forest fire. This is what the expert witness is saying. Again, only by the grace of God. I think that Diddy was even planning on burning, if it was him, burning Kid Cudi's house down, because this was dangerous. And there were 2 other vehicles in the driveway. The Porsche was the closest to the house. Why would you choose to put it in the place parked 10 feet from the house and leave the other 2 cars, unless you were hoping to hurt the people or have that house catch fire too? I thought it was very, very interesting. Again, only because the handkerchief fell out too early, the Molotov cocktail, which they call firebomb, didn't go off the way they expected it to, okay? But let's get into this, right? Because this is what people are talking about, that Diddy has a mole inside. And this is what we need to actually pay attention to, okay? With the LAPD. Listen, he said that they were like, okay, what do you do? He's like, I look at the fire. I'm an investigator. He is like, the guy is super, super stored up. They said the LAPD actually tested for fingerprints. Now, they said that there were 2 sets of fingerprints on the house door that the LAPD tested for, and they were collected and put on a fingerprint card. He also said that there were fingerprints taken off the car door of the Porsche that did not match Kid Cudi's, right? And they were taken off the car door. So they were like, the prosecution was like, well, did you analyze it? And get this. They said, did you cross-analyze it? And he said, I couldn't. They said, why? He's like, well, this happened in December of 2011, right? Keep that in mind. This happened in December 2011. He went in and said in early 2012, Rashida Williams, thank you so much for the super chat. He said in early 2012, guess what happened? The evidence, he went to go cross-reference the fingerprints he found on the Porsche that weren't Kid Cudi's. He went to go to the evidence card for the fingerprints that were found on Kid Cudi's door after he reported that break-in, right? He went, guess what? The evidence was destroyed. The evidence, the fingerprint cards were destroyed. The fingerprint cards were destroyed. The prosecution said, is that normal? He said, absolutely not. This is the fire investigator. He said, absolutely not. She said, well, what normally happens? She said, if they find prints on the scene and I'm conducting my arson investigation, they give me the prints to cross-reference everything I find. At the very least, if they decide to destroy evidence, he said it's very, very he said it's very, very, very uncommon for them to destroy evidence, especially fingerprints, in the middle of an ongoing investigation. He also said that even if they do decide to do that for whatever reason, they always talk to him because he needs the evidence to cross-profile. They said it was destroyed too quickly. It was destroyed not out of protocol, and he automatically said he was not consulted, and he 100% usually is. He said it was highly unusual. When that happened, Mark Agnifilo was like, Your Honor, objection, objection. Diddy's team was going crazy. Brian still, dare I say, looked a little bit, maybe nervous, definitely uncomfortable. Diddy was sitting there. Mark Agnifilo asked for a sidebar and was arguing with Mark Agnifilo asked for a sidebar and was arguing with the judge about whether that missing evidence should be admitted. Now, let's get into that missing evidence because it needs to be talked about. Is there a church going on? Something like, I don't know. There's some type of music going on. Sorry, I'm being nosy. Anyway, right? This was insane. It was insane, but we have more information. Hold on, y'all, right? Also, I want to thank Pandalore said a few bucks for extra ink pens. Thank you. Thank you. How you know I'm always missing an ink pen? Thanks for your insightful reporting, T. Thank you. And the Hood Riller 100 said, don't be a donut. A donut? Hit that like button. What's that? Anyway, right? Don't be a donut. Okay, sure, right? Okay, but here's the interesting thing. Remember Little Rod's lawsuit? So first of all, we have missing evidence that can directly tie Diddy to the scene. Get this. As much as they tried to make Capricorn Clark out to be a liar, when they actually were talking about, did you see a black SUV? The officer that responded to the scene saw a blacked out Escalade, like Capricorn Clark said, sitting outside of Kid Cudi's house. Now we'll get into the timeline. And the guy said, because it looked suspicious, he took the license plate down, and that license plate was registered to Bad Boy International. Exactly. Cami Gutierrez said, love all your coverage. May God continue to use you and your joyous spirit. Oh, thank you. You're definitely a light in that room. Oh, thank you so much, right? So listen. So anyway, so what was I going to say? So anyway, let's get back to this because there's so much stuff, and then I got to run back up to court. But let me let y'all hear this, right? So anyway, so there's missing fingerprint evidence. He said the LAPD handles the fingerprinting. He just cross-references with his samples. He went to go cross-reference it because they got some prints. The evidence was mysteriously destroyed. Nobody knows why. It was destroyed too soon. It was destroyed without permission. It was destroyed. The defense is like, Your Honor, objection. They want this thrown out. But let's walk to Little Rod's lawsuit, okay? I know Diddy wish he had paid Little Rod. I know that Diddy wishes he had paid Little Rod his $50K. Shayna Johnson said, thank you for giving us the tea, pretty lady. Oh, thank you, Shayna, thank you, Miss Johnson. Okay, so let's talk about the Little Rod lawsuit, right? Because it needs to be talked about. Okay, let me walk you down, like memory lane, okay? Little Rod said that there was a security officer, head of security, Nina Shepard, thank you so much for the super chat. There was head of security that Diddy used as his fixer because he had deep ties to the LAPD, and that's how he made a lot of stuff go away, okay? Jajina, 321, thank you so much for the super chat. And Brooke Churchill, thank you for the super chat. Okay, now, remember how Little Rod said that there was somebody called G that in Chalice Recording Studios was shot? He has the blood evidence. He has pictures. He took pictures of the bathroom. He said he carried this man in his arms out the recording studio into the ambulance. He said the LAPD showed up. They didn't question Diddy, his sons. They didn't question anything. And Diddy told everybody to say that man had gotten shot outside. And everybody was saying, but how could this happen? How come? Oh, get this. I think when Little Rod tried to get the police report, they could not get the police reports. And the police were like, what are you talking about? They then got some homeless people to say that they saw the guy get shot 2 blocks away. And the only thing is there's so much security to get into Chalice Studios, bulletproof glass, double security doors, that there's no way that somebody can just stumble off the street, bleeding from a gunshot no less, and get into the studio. There's too much security in Chalice Recording Studios. So everybody was like, okay, so then what happened to G? How come the LAPD showed up, didn't interview Diddy or anybody? How come nobody heard about it on the evening news? There was no, listen, Sean Combs, this is why he was recording the Love album in 2023. There was a shooting, a bloody person in the studio, Little Rod covered in blood, carrying him out to the ambulance. How come there is no mention of that? Now, Little Rod's lawsuit said Diddy had a fixer. He named Diddy's fixer in the lawsuit. I did a huge live about that. Go ahead and say, but he named Diddy in the fixer, right? TLD, thank you so much for the super chat. Slow Rilla said, sis, you're doing your thing. Thank you, Slow Rilla, right? In any case, right? Everybody is saying, Rose Method, thank you so for the super chat. Everybody in the courtroom was like, oh my word. Jolanta K, JK, thank you so much for the super chat, right? Again, how did evidence cards months after an arson, how did they get destroyed? And why were they destroyed without the detective's permission? And nobody knows why, and nobody knows how, but baby, we are going to find out in the courtroom how and why. It literally leads you to believe, right? It literally leads you to believe and ask questions. Does Diddy have a mole in the LAPD? Is that how his reign of terror has been able to be going on? B. Will said, great job, T. So we appreciate your accurate reporting. Thank you. But on the other thing, when you talk about, hold on. Yeah, so victim 2 is testifying, I think, after lunch.
Okay.
Yeah. So you guys also,
Legit?
yeah, it's 100% legit. They talked about it yesterday and today in the courtroom.
Did they get her out to the garage, or we don't know?
We don't know yet,
Hopefully-
but she's
hopefully
anonymous.
to the garage.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it's anonymous, so I'm guessing that's where they're gonna go. Yeah. So anyway, victim 2 is going to be testifying after lunch. I actually need to get my booty up there so I can hear victim 2's testimony. I cannot dox her, but if I know who I think it is, I'll give y'all a wink. All right. M. Stanley said best updates on the Diddy trial period. So now, what are we looking at? Oh, muy inteligente. Thank you so much for the super chat. Okay, right? So getting into this, also thank you, M. Stanley. Okay, so right? So yeah, Mia is testifying today after lunch, y'all. Mia is testifying. We will be in the courtroom, so I'll have eyes on her. We cannot dox her because of the media blackout, but baby, you know I'm gonna be like, I'll be giving y'all clues like warmer, hotter, colder. Anyway, let's get back into this, right? Because I have to go back up to the courtroom in a second. Cherry said, girl, you're doing your thing with the coverage this trial. Yep, fit check. Anyway, listen. Mia said Mia's being called last. She's being called after lunch. But you guys, let's talk about the fact that this brings up another thing. If what the detective's saying is true and he has no reason to lie, and if evidence was missing that could have tied Diddy to the break-in, and if Little Rob was telling the truth in this lawsuit about Diddy having a fixer in the LAPD that made things going on, that this means that the rumors I've been hearing about Diddy possibly getting a state case, hold on, bodysuit's falling down, about Diddy possibly getting a state case and being investigated in California, because baby, even if you get pardoned, pardons don't work for the state. But Diddy possibly having a state case in the city of LA because there is some dirty stuff going on. Now, I'm not accusing the LAPD of doing anything for legal purposes, but I am saying this: where the hell's the evidence card? What happened to G? How come everything with Diddy and Cassie was never reported? Now, Mark Agnafilio wants to make it seem like because it was no big deal. Nah. It doesn't work like that. Let's get into what the officer said. Now, as Brian Still was on the cross, and you know Brian Still, he's very, very good. He even got that derelict young thug acquitted, even though we see by him calling Kid Cudi a snitch, that at the end of the day, I don't understand it. I get everybody was behind him because Fulton County seemed like they were really corrupt, but how come we can't get behind an innocent person getting off against a corrupt system? Again, it's like, okay, fine, you beat out the game, but clearly your mind, anyway, we ain't talking about Young Thug, because shout out to Mariah the Scientist. Her new song is amazing. Make sure y'all go stream it. Let us break these chains of oppression so that she may find a man that accepts all her love. But anyway, let's get into this, right? So, the police said something very interesting too. Now, they tried to poke holes in Capricorn Clark's story, even though we can clearly see the map. Even though everybody from LA knows the area she's talking about, they are still trying to convince the jury that there's no way they could have chased Kid Cudi because Kid Cudi lives on a dead end, a cul-de-sac. He does not, and you can get out of there. All you got to do is make a left until you get to the cul-de-sac. Kid Cudi knows how to get out of his neighborhood. And when I heard that, I was like, Diddy, stop playing. Stop trying to make fetch happen. Stop trying to make fetch happen. There are multiple exits, and y'all are dragging him. Okay, so that happened, okay? Now, Oh, Darlene Colbert Turner, thank you so much for the super chat. Any more? Oh, hold on, just missed one. Holly Andrews said, blazer infos, please. This is an ALC blazer dress. I've been sitting in the courtroom with a jacket over my knees because this is more like date night. When you sit down, it's like party on top, date night on bottom. But you know, I've been keeping my modesty in the courtroom, making sure I wear, anyway, y'all don't care. Anyway, so with the police officer, that's something very, very, very interesting, because the police officer pretty much in my mind corroborated Capricorn Clark. First of all, stop trying to make fetch happen. He don't live in a dead end street, and that's his neighborhood, so he knows to make a left on the street before the dead end happens. Everybody that's been up there was like, no, you can, it's not a dead end. For God's sake, stop it with the dead end. And they're showing us a map where it's like, that's not a dead end, that's not a dead end, that's not a dead end, right? But he also said some other important things that I think we actually need to address. First of all, okay, Capricorn Clark said that Diddy grabbed her at 5:30 a.m. Wonder Woman said, smash that like button, yes. So listen, Capricorn Clark said some interesting things. She said that Diddy grabbed her around 5:30, somewhere between 5 and 6, okay? Now, the police said that they got called to the house about 8:20 and they saw Diddy sitting out there. Now, I think this timeline makes sense. Capricorn Clark said that they went to the house, she called, she was so scared, right? Many moves, and great reporting, Tisa. She also said that Diddy then told her, you better get with Cassie and y'all talk to Kid Cudi and y'all better make sure that I'm not implicated into the police. She said she then met up with Cassie, and they went and talked to Kid Cudi for about 2.5 hours to convince him not to say anything. Now, Brian Steele was saying, well, did he mention a gun? No, but he also knew that Diddy is in his house, and Kid Cudi to the police didn't mention Diddy's name. He didn't mention anything about a gun. He just said there was a break-in. In my mind, I'm like, is this not linking up exactly with what Capricorn Clark said, that they got the message and was like, yo, don't say anything or I'm gonna murk all of you? Because you keep wanting to make a situation that he reported that a GUN was in the house, but he never reported that bad boy for life was in his house either. So what are we really doing, okay? Then he went on to say, if you look at that 2-hour time frame, where she's like, oh, we talked to him for about 2 hours, 5:30, they know the break-in's happening, it's early in the morning, and all of a sudden the police get a call and they show up maybe 20 minutes later and they show up at 8:20, 5:36, 6, 2 hours, there we MF and go. There we go, okay? There we go. It makes sense. So now I see why they're like, oh, what happened with that car chase? I think the car chase did happen. And then later on, after the car chase, they still went and sat in front of Kid Cudi's house because they was waiting for Cudi to show up. Mind you, by this time, Capricorn Clark had linked up with Cassie, and Kim Cudi went to go show up at his house on his own. Anyway, they got Diddy did the rights. That thing was registered in Bad Boy Entertainment. That black SUV that was out there, both officers took note of it. It was a complete hot mess express. They got Diddy dead to rights. Anybody that said, we don't see the RICO, defense ate them up, y'all dumb? Well, y'all not dumb. But the people that said that, you guys are blissfully unaware. God, I'm fighting my life. You guys are blissfully unaware of what real evidence looks like. You guys, this is only day 11. And I was sitting in that courtroom and I was like, if I was Diddy, I'd be like, great, googly moogly. Like, y'all got me dead to rights. And you're only on day 11? So much so that the prosecution was like, I think we're going to end our trial early. Nao said, looking fly, girl. Thank you so much, Nao. Also, Ty the Gemini twin, where have you? Said, hey, Tisa, I'm in my office with my coworkers, Sarah and Kelly. What's up? Ty the Gemini, Sarah and Kelly. I bet y'all all air signs huddled up. Maybe a Pisces or a Virgo thrown in for good mix. So keep the tea coming, girl. We are glued to the screen. Thanks for all you do. Of course. And Tony Ann S. said, Tisa, you deserve all the recognition. You're on fire, boo. Top tier reporting. Oh, you guys, thank you. Now get this. The jury's reaction. Who asked that? What was the jury's reaction? The jury was locked in. Everybody was taking notes, but I gotta be honest with you about the jury. There is one woman in the second row, and she does not look convinced. Every day she walks in there like, I talked to a few people, they said that she looks like she has I think she's gonna be the hardest one to sway. And it looks like she already went in there with her mindset. Maybe I'm misreading her, I don't know. But that juror looks like she already had her mind made up that Diddy is innocent. Paige Collins said, what is Diddy looking like during this? Diddy was hot. He was looking around. Everybody about that missing fingerprint charge looked scared, angry, confused, sad, shocked, and surprised all at the same time. Queen Bmar said the jury is back in. He said, all right, y'all, I'm going up. And the Hood Rilla said, jury is back. Go back in. Okay. Listen, you guys. Listen. Diddy might have a, let me summarize, then I'm going to run back up. Diddy might have a mole in the LAPD. This corroborates what Little Rod's lawsuit was saying. This corroborates with the G shooting. This corroborates why Diddy's reign of terror. Let's also not forget he had numerous civil lawsuits in NYPD saying that he had police officers on his payroll and they were covering up stuff. Lena, thank you so much for the super chat. There is so much going there. Listen, there is so much going on. I can't believe it. Hold on, let's say hi to someone. Hi.
I'm an attorney. I want you.
Oh, okay. She doesn't want to be the thing. Okay, she's an attorney. She's not supposed to be here. Yeah. Thank you, counselor. She doesn't want to be on camera. So anyway, you guys. Now some people have said that girl in the second row is a mole in the jury, but I'll be honest with you. I do have faith in our justice system. I do have faith in the jurors. So I really don't want to start any gossip that there might be a mole on the jury. Now, towards the end, we might see if it's overwhelming evidence and whatever. But as of now, I want to stop and actually, I don't want to actually start like gossip that this court system is corrupt without evidence. At the end of the day, that's what the jury is. Sometimes you believe people, sometimes you don't. Do you know what I'm saying? It would be like saying I'm the mole because I believe Diddy is guilty of sin. You're going to have to show me tons of evidence for me to believe that. For me not to believe that, you know? So again, I don't want to start any gossip right now that the jury might be corrupt. I think it's too early for that. But let me tell you something. The prosecution got this ninja dead to rights. Darion Garner, thank you so much for the super chat. I really appreciate it. But he is guilty, Sam Thung. And I hope everybody that was talking shit about me saying, I don't know what I'm talking about, and I'm putting 20 on 10, and the government hasn't even proved their RICO case, and they don't even see and I'm anti-man, baby. I ain't anti-man, I'm anti-demon, because trust and believe, I rep my set. Discerning said, thank you for your dedication. How can I donate to you? Discerning 8, don't worry. I got you. But there is Cash App, there is PayPal, and there is YouTube. But even anyway, it doesn't matter. I thank you guys for the attention. But I hope everybody that was talking shit about my analysis, because the real title tells from the beginning, no, baby, I might tell you a joke, but I'm never going to tell you a lie. And when it comes to Diddy, my analysis has been spot on. I don't care what alphabet letters you have behind your name. Baby, my analysis has been spot on, and I know they hate to see it. Anyway, y'all, listen. I'm talking so much trash, I literally slipped out of my shoe. That was God telling me, sit down, be humble. Anyway, y'all, listen, let me go back into the thing. The jury just got back in. I'll see y'all soon. Oh, wait, really quick. U3UN60 said, thanks again. Now get going. Okay, fine. I'm going. Lynn, thank you so much for the super chat. All right, I'll talk to y'all.